Thank you for joining us today. I have a special guest with us. Technically, it's kind of funny because John and I would be considered competition because he's a franchise consultant broker as well. But I had some questions for him because he's also a franchisee of a couple of brands. And we were just talking about how the consultant is looking at businesses right now. And really, funny enough, we're looking at businesses right now for how they're acting during this pandemic. And we're doing that on behalf of people we probably haven't even met yet, because in 3 years, we're still going to be talking about this. So wanted to kind of share some insight from a franchisee. So John, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to hop on and share what wisdom I can offer.
Well, I appreciate it. So, and I'm just always so impressed whenever we talk. You know, it's great to talk with someone who is helping people in this industry you bought into it. You know, I mean, I came from the franchisor side of it, so also been in it for a while from, you know, all these different perspectives. And you bring such a fabulous perspective to the people you work with because you drank the Kool-Aid. Right?
Well, I think that's really important. And likewise, you know, I know you mentioned competition, but in many ways, we support each other too, because the world of opportunity in our business is so much bigger than one or two of us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Why don't you tell everybody kind of just a little bit of your history? I think we kind of went through, you know, how you got to where you're at now and being a franchisee of multiple brands and a franchise consultant. But if you can give them the timeline, I think that might help kind of set the stage for what we're going to talk about.
Of course. So I'll just leave it at, after a long mortgage banking career that was very productive, but not fulfilling, I got involved actually with another franchise consultant years ago. This was 2005. We researched a dozen or so brands. Ultimately, I think, found one called BounceU. Now this was 2006. We signed a franchise agreement in August of 06 and opened July of 07. So it's been, 13 years now. You know, they've gone through several management and ownership changes over the years, and the brand has certainly changed, and I know we're going to get to that. So that was 2007. I had an opportunity to do a lot of things, Franchise Advisory Council, working directly with corporate on the marketing, brand refresh, president of the Franchise Association, all of these things. So I learned a lot of different pieces of franchising. And as I started to explore what was next, because in that piece, there was a 4-year run of operating one in Las Vegas, 1,000 miles away. And that was not as successful as ours here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which has been very, very successful for us. So, you know, learned about managing remotely, learned about how corporate works and a lot of these different pieces. And then, but I also learned I didn't want to open another one. So as I get to, you know, the kids are getting into high school, getting ready for college, we've got a little more time on our hands. What's next? So I started exploring how I got to BounceU, and that was through a franchise consultant and using a background as a mortgage originator, very similar skill sets. I thought, I want to do that. I don't want to open another franchise. I want to do that. I want to help people get to where I got, right? So that's how I got in. That was 2016. So a little over 4 years, about 4 years ago.
Awesome.
And then in the process of that, and you know this very well, we see lots of franchises, right? And I think this is, again, part of why we're on here today is we get to see them at a deeper level than, and actually pass that knowledge on to our clients and candidates. And so as I was researching things for a candidate, I came across Knockouts Haircuts for Men. And this was 2017. Spring of 2018, I actually signed on what they call a master franchise agreement with them, which is, you know, I signed on for the rights to 5, given certain territory, that kind of stuff. So we personally have opened one right now. I have a lease in front of me for our second one. Been kind of waiting to get through this.
That's fun.
That's right. And yeah, so that's where we are. Those are the two brands I obviously know a little more intimately, but Yeah,
We
that's
can
my.
talk about lease negotiation right now and how that's changed. We'll save that for the next call.
That's right. So we can to extend this if we're going to do that, I think.
Well, okay, and so that's kind of what brings us to where we are today. So the the point of this interview, everybody, is to, as franchise consultants, we look deep into these businesses, and sometimes when the businesses are new, there's really not much to see. And so we're really seeing exactly what you're seeing on paper, meeting the franchise team, the whole bit. But as a franchise life gets longer, we get the opportunity to look at how the franchise has been through the years, not just how much money the franchise owners have made, but when you're getting into a franchise system, you literally are buying support. You're buying a playbook. And I know I say it and it's cheesy all the time, but you're buying the relationship of the other owners in the system walking shoulder to shoulder forward with you. And it's cheesy, and that's not why you really buy it, but it's one of those unwritten things that's super important. And so when John and I got to talking, we were talking about the fact that in 5 years, how a franchise acts right now in supporting those owners, or in 3 years, or in 6 months, it's going to be real conversation for quite a while. And little Miss Optimistic is saying, they're all being so great and they're all throwing these walls up and supporting their franchisees, and the community is just amazing. And John kind of reminded me, those were the stories that the franchisors are telling and I was hearing. There's plenty of really good stories, and Knockouts, I think, is one of those. I mean, this is a hair salon. They're shut down, and you said, like, they're being amazing.
I've been really impressed with it. So Knockout's brand, it's still family owned. The husband and wife who run it, based in Dallas. I know because I've been on the phone with them at 9 o'clock at night, that they are doing whatever they needed to do over the past 6 weeks to um, help. We want to feel supported. We want to know they care. They're in this with us. They're doing everything in their power to help us. And that's all we can ask, right? We can't, they can't fix this for us, but
Right.
they can help us manage it. And so certainly, and what I love about what they do is they've taken it even deeper and talked to our staff, our employees, our hairstylists, right? So they've had webinars and conference calls, not just for the franchise owners, not just for our salon managers, but even for any of the stylists who wanted to get on about how to deal with unemployment, how to file for the federal assistance. And of course, the franchisees have had many calls along. How do we deal with that? How do we get into the new cleaning? What's our new normal for operating a salon? And it's been 2 or 3 times a week if we wanted to. Of course, we don't have to join them all.
Right.
And the one-on-one texting, I mean, I'm talking directly to the founders when I need something, whether it's day or night. And that to me is the epitome of what we are in this business for in terms of joining a franchise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The fact that you're in business for yourself, end of the day, you're writing the checks, but you're not by yourself. Old cliche, it's going to start coming around again. But then we talked about your other franchise system and kind of their reaction. And I think those are the ones, obviously, as consultants, we're not hearing about that probably right now, but as consultants, we talked about this. We're
Right.
going to be talking with our candidates now and very far in the future. We've added that question to our checkboxes as far as asking franchise owners and franchise systems, what did you do in the spring of 2020? And so let's talk about that part and kind of your experience with
Right.
your other brand.
Right. So, and BounceU is one of 3 companies owned and operated by Fun Brands Holdings. Pump It Up is the sister company. We operate virtually identically. And we got a letter from the CEO of the private equity company, probably when we all first closed, middle of March, right? So this is 6 weeks ago. And that's it. So that's the leadership that we've gotten. And then we get a weekly email every Friday. I should be getting one here shortly from the vice president They furloughed everybody. There's no, and yeah, they put in this email, here's the SBA's link. Well, that doesn't do me any good. I can Google that, right? I want to feel like there's some leadership, like there's some support. Like, what are we all going to do, not just today and tomorrow, but when we all come out of this? What does it look like?
Yeah, you've got to be looking at sanitization and getting these places cleaned up and plaster and posters all over. We're clean, we're clean.
It's a children's birthday party center, 10,000 square feet, some bigger, a little bigger less, but roughly 10,000 square feet with big inflatables, right? We don't have the trampolines. This predates the trampoline business, and it's birthday party revenue. That's 75% of most of our incomes, right? And in their private parties, the way we move them around the building. So how does that look when everything we've done up to now has been to promote the best value, and this is the bigger party, 25 to 35 kids, because it's a set fee, right? You're not paying more per kid. Right. And now we're in a situation where that might not be the case going forward. We might not even be able to do those parties for some time, if we're allowed to reopen it. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of questions, certainly a lot more competition than we had. And that's something they've really failed to address over the last couple of years too. So just the lack of feeling like they care as a franchisee is the most troubling part for me as a consultant. And that's going to be the challenge for you and I to try and dig out of franchisors as we go forward, because they are the ones who have their head in the sand right now. They're not only not talking to their franchisees, they're not talking to anybody. And so how do we root that out? And it's going to become a big topic, I think, as we go forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think as consultants, we have to remember that not necessarily that we're the gatekeeper, because I tell people that all the time. Like, we're one tool in the toolbox of finding a business. And we're sometimes, I say, the squeaky wheel, right? Did you ask this? Double check this. Because we're almost trying to talk them out of it. But we want to make sure that the decision that they make is solid. And we got to sleep at night too.
Absolutely.
And so I think that having this conversation will help if you're looking at a franchise now, or just why would I use a consultant? I think these are the kind of conversations that are going to help, because that might be a question that somebody didn't think to ask. And I know your people and my people, we're going to be pounding it home, but
yeah. Well, I don't know what you do with these videos. I assume you library them somewhere. But so if you're watching this and it's 2022 or 23 or 25, make sure you talk to your franchisors you're looking at about what did they do in 2020 during the coronavirus, second quarter of 2020. What did they do to help their franchisees? How do they support them? It doesn't have to be anything more major than they got on the phone, they picked up the phone, and they said, we care, how can we help?
Right.
I'm getting that from one. I'm not getting it from another. I know that there's countless franchises out there that some are doing one and some are not. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks
Hopefully
for having me. Yeah.